sit with it for a moment because there is a great deal packed inside it. Because there are two very specific things happening in this message, and they are deeply and meaningfully connected to each other. The first is a return. This person is not drifting back passively, is not showing up out of familiarity or habit, is not returning out of convenience or simple loneliness. This is an active, deliberate, chosen return. This is this person arriving at the clear decision that they are not done with you, that the distance between the two of you is not something they can continue to accept, and that they are going to do something genuinely real about it. And that is a fundamentally different energy from simply reappearing or making contact. And the second thing happening here is the awakening. Something very specific shifted in this person. Not just a shift in their feelings in a given moment, not just a change in their mood or their external circumstance. Something in the very specific way they understand themselves, what they genuinely want, and what they were actually doing when they walked away from what the two of you had. And when I feel into both of those things together, what I feel clearly is someone who is not coming back as the same version of themselves that left. They are coming back as something genuinely different, not perfected, not without their complications, not suddenly without the patterns they carry, but changed in a specific and real way that is not reversible. Let's pull first card, the Chariot. And the Chariot coming out immediately is one of the most direct confirmations of the energy I just described. Because the Chariot is not a passive card, not a card of hesitation, not a card of waiting on circumstances. The Chariot is specifically the card of someone who has made a firm decision and is now actively and deliberately moving toward it, who has gathered their direction, their intention, and their will, and is now pointed squarely at one specific thing. And I feel like that specific and singular thing is you this person has genuinely decided. Maybe not yet in the form of a dramatic external declaration, but internally, in the place where real decisions are made and held, something has locked in. They are coming with real intention, with genuine purpose. And this time, they are not going to stop short of what they actually want. And I want to name something very specific about the Chariot in this position. The Chariot is also the card of someone who has overcome an internal conflict, who had two opposing and deeply incompatible forces pulling at them simultaneously, and has now finally resolved that internal tension by choosing one direction. And I feel like this person has been inside that conflict for considerably longer than, pulled between the deep thing they genuinely wanted and the decision they made to walk away from it, between their pride and their persistent longing, between the decision they made and the truth of what they actually and privately feel. And the truth has been winning for a long time. Quietly and persistently, it has been winning, and the Chariot is saying that conflict has ended, the direction has been chosen, and it is toward you, second card, Ace of Cups, because the Ace of Cups landing directly after the Chariot is a combination I want to stay with for a moment, because it is genuinely very significant. Because the Ace of Cups is not a card about existing feelings. It is the card of emotional renewal, of a heart that has genuinely gone through something real, cleared itself out, and is now ready to offer something that feels entirely and completely different from what was there before. Not what they were offering before. Something genuinely new and available. And I feel like this card is speaking very directly to the awakening part of what this message is about. Something genuinely and irreversibly cracked open in this person, a realization, a specific moment of clarity that came for them when they were absolutely not expecting it. A feeling they could not rationalize away, could not dismiss, could not fold back up and put somewhere manageable. And what cracked open was the full and completely unfiltered awareness of what you genuinely mean to them, not the comfortable, manageable surface version of that. The real, deep, costly, inconvenient version. The version they had been actively suppressing or rationalizing or very deliberately protecting themselves from having to sit inside. And the Ace of Cups is saying clearly that what comes back is not this person in the same emotional configuration they were in when they left. What comes back is a real and specific emotional openness that was not available before this awakening. before this thing cracked them open. Now, your side, because before we go any further into what this person is doing and where they are headed, I want to spend real time with you with what you have actually been living inside while all of this has been in motion on their end. Let's pull first card for your side, Four of Cups. And the Four of Cups in this position is immediately showing me a very specific emotional posture. The Four of Cups is the card of someone who has turned inward, who has gone quiet, not dramatically, not in a way that announces itself, but in the specific way of someone who has learned to hold what they feel very close to themselves, because putting it anywhere external felt too risky. And I feel like that is showing me how you have been moving through this period. There has been a kind of protective withdrawal. A deliberate pulling back a decision, maybe not fully conscious, maybe never formally made, to stop reaching toward what you want and to instead manage what you have. And I want to name something about that. That withdrawal is not weakness. It is not giving up. It is what a person does when they have been hurt or disappointed or kept in uncertainty long enough that hope starts to feel more dangerous than absence does. And I feel like hope became costly for you during this time. Not immediately, but gradually in the way that prolonged uncertainty changes a person. You stopped letting yourself fully feel what you feel about this person, not because the feeling left, but because feeling it in full was becoming too heavy to carry alongside the not knowing. And the Four of Cups is showing me that you have been very still, not healed, not moved on, not resolved, just still, holding yourself carefully in a kind of internal suspension, waiting without entirely knowing what you are waiting for. And I want you to know that the stillness you have been living in is about to end. Something is actively coming for it. Second card, the moon. And the moon landing here is telling me something very direct about the experience you have been moving through. Because the moon is the card of navigating in the dark, of walking through something where you genuinely cannot see the full shape of what is in front of you, where the information you have is incomplete and the path is not clearly lit, and yet you are still asked to keep moving. And I feel like that is a very accurate description of where you have been. You have not had clarity about this person. You have not had a clear signal. You have been reading incomplete information, interpreting silence, trying to understand what the distance means, trying to figure out whether what you sense is true or whether you are projecting. And the moon does something specific to a person. It makes you doubt your own perception. It makes you question whether what you feel is accurate or whether you have been seeing what you want to see. And I feel like you have been in that questioning for a long time now. And I feel like part of you stopped trusting your own read on this, wondering whether your instinct about this person and this connection is something real or something you have constructed out of longing. But I want to say something very specifically to you about the moon in this position. The moon does not last forever. It never does. It is a phase, and it is ending. And what follows the moon in every reading where it appears is a return of clarity. The path becomes visible. Again, what was obscured reveals itself. And I feel like the clarity you have been waiting for, the kind that tells you definitively what this is and where it is going, is arriving, and it is not arriving gently. It is arriving with enough force to settle what has been unsettled in you. Last card, Nine of Wands. And the Nine of Wands is one of the most specific cards I could see in a reading for someone who has been holding on through something difficult. Because the Nine of Wands is the card of the person who has been through a real fight, who has taken hits, who has carried things, who is visibly tired but has not left the field, who is still standing, still present, still in it, not because standing is easy, but because leaving would cost more than staying ever did. And I feel like that is you during this period. You have been battle-weary, carrying it quietly, the way people carry the things they genuinely cannot put down, not dramatic about it, not performing it for anyone. Just quietly carrying the weight of something that has not resolved while continuing to show up for your life in every other direction. And the Nine of Wands has something very specific to say to people in this position. The fight is almost over, not the giving up kind of over, the resolution kind. The moment where what you have been waiting for arrives and you finally get to set down the weight that has been in your hands. And I feel like that is what is coming for you. Not more endurance, not more surviving. Now we look at them directly at who they actually are beneath what they showed you, beneath what they presented, at what has been happening in them that they did not let you see, and at what specifically caused this awakening. First card for their side, King of Cups reversed. And the King of Cups reversed is one of the most telling cards I could see for this person in this position. Because the King of Cups reversed is the card of someone who has access to a very deep emotional world that they have been keeping at a significant distance. The King of Cups, when upright, is the card of emotional mastery, of someone who has fully integrated what they feel and leads from a place of grounded emotional intelligence. Reversed, it is someone who has the depth but has not yet integrated it, who has the capacity for profound emotional connection but has been either suppressing it, managing it from the outside, or using intelligence and composure as a wall that keeps other people from getting close enough to touch the real thing. And I feel like this person has been doing that with you, not because they do not feel deeply, but because what they feel for you specifically is something they have not known how to hold. It exceeded the container they had built for it completely. And when something exceeds the container, the instinctive response for this kind of person is not to expand the container, it is to put distance between themselves and the thing that is exceeding it. And I feel like that is the real story of what happened. Not an incompatibility, not a lack of feeling, not that the feeling was not there. It was there in a volume they were not equipped to manage. And the reversal is showing me the moment of that beginning to shift, of the King of Cups beginning to right itself, of this person moving towards something they once moved away from, of this person starting to access what they have been protecting themselves from feeling in full. Second card, Six of Swords reversed. And the Six of Swords reversed is one of the most specific cards I could see for the experience this person has been having since the distance between you grew. Because the Six of Swords reversed is the card of someone who attempted to leave and could not fully go. The upright Six of Swords is departure, moving away from turbulent waters toward calmer ones. Reversed, it is the inability to complete that departure, the boat that cannot move because the anchor is still fully and completely down. And I feel like this person genuinely tried to move on, not maliciously, not with the intention of hurting you by doing so, but in the practical, self-protective way that people try to move forward when staying in a feeling has become unmanageable. They attempted to redirect their energy, to fill the space with other things, other people, other occupations. None of it worked. None of it worked in the way they needed it to, not for lack of effort. Because what they were carrying for you did not transfer. It did not diminish the way they expected it to. And I feel like there was a specific moment, a moment they probably could identify if they were being honest with themselves, where they realized the departure was not happening, that they had not actually left, that all they had succeeded in doing was creating distance while remaining fully and completely anchored to you. And that realization is part of what drove the awakening, the recognition that staying away was not freedom. It was just a more painful version of being close. Third card, Two of Wands. And the Two of Wands landing in this position is the card that tells me where they are right now in this moment, because the Two of Wands is the card of someone standing at a threshold. Someone who has made a decision internally and is now facing the world with that decision held in their hands, looking forward, looking at the path that leads toward what they want. And I feel like this card is showing me this person as they are right now today, in this moment standing at the beginning of a movement toward you. Not yet at your door, but facing it, pointed directly toward it. The Two of Wands also carries the energy of planning, of someone who has not only decided, but is actively thinking about what they are going to say, how they are going to approach this, how they are going to make it clear that this is not a casual return, not a testing of waters, not a retreat option if things get hard. They are thinking about how to demonstrate the seriousness of what they feel. And the fact that they are thinking this carefully is itself new. And I feel like the approach they are planning is going to be different from anything you have seen from them before. More direct, less protected, more willing to be seen in the full depth of what they are carrying. And that change in how they are approaching this is itself evidence of the awakening. The old version of this person would not have let themselves be this exposed. Now we look at what they are actually going to do, not what they are feeling, not what they have realized, not the internal shift we have already covered. What happens next? The specific actions, the specific movements, the exact way this return takes shape in the real and visible world. Let's pull first card, Eight of Wands. And the Eight of Wands is the card of things moving very fast. This is the card of energy that has been held back, suddenly finding its channel and releasing all at once, of communication that comes in multiple directions simultaneously, of momentum that has been building quietly, suddenly converting into visible, rapid, unmistakable movement. And I feel like this card is saying something very specific and direct to you. This person is going to reach out. And when I say that, I mean it literally, not eventually, not after more deliberation, not after conditions align more favorably. The movement has already started. And I feel like for many of you, the contact is closer than you currently expect it to be, because the Eight of Wands does not deal in slow timelines. It deals in the compressed kind, in the kind where things that seemed far away suddenly arrive. And I feel like the outreach from this person is going to come in a way that removes ambiguity, not a subtle signal, not something you have to interpret or second guess. Something direct enough that you know exactly what it means and what they are saying. And I also feel the Eight of Wands pointing specifically to a quality of urgency in them, like something that was contained has broken through. Like they have been holding this back and can no longer justify holding it. And so it is coming in full, with everything they have been sitting on. Second card, the Emperor. And the Emperor in this position is one of the most significant cards I could see for how this person shows up when they return. Because the Emperor is the card of someone who has stepped into a version of themselves that is grounded, direct, and unwilling to be ambiguous about what they want. This is not a card of someone who circles or hints or leaves room for misinterpretation. The Emperor walks in knowing what they came for, and they do not leave without it. And I feel like that is exactly the version of this person who is returning, not the version that hedged, not the version that held back more than they gave, not the version that needed everything to be undefined and uncommitted, so they could protect themselves from the weight of their own feelings. A more structured, more honest, more grounded version. One who has decided that clarity is the only thing worth offering. And I feel like you are going to feel the difference immediately in every dimension of how they show up, not just in what they say and how they hold themselves when they say it, in the way they meet your eyes, in the quality of their presence, which is going to feel more settled and more certain than it has ever felt before. The Emperor is also the card of someone who is ready to build, not just reconnect, build. To take what exists between the two of you and give it a real and solid structure. To stop letting it exist in the undefined space where it has been living, to name it, claim it, and commit to it. And I feel like that is specifically what they are bringing back. Not just a return, a proposal of something permanent, a willingness to do what is required to make it real. Last card, Three of Cups. And the Three of Cups arriving as the final card in this section is the card I most want to see here. Because the Three of Cups is the card of celebration and reunion, of people who belong together finding their way back to each other, of something that had been separated coming back into alignment. And I feel like this card is showing me the energy of what is coming between the two of you. Not a tense or uncertain reconnection, not a careful, hedged, testing reconnection, a warm 1-1 where something releases in both of you at the same time, like a held breath finally let out. Where the distance collapses and what is left is the thing that was always between you, the thing that was there before anything got complicated, now freed from everything that was blocking it. And I want to say something specific about the Three of Cups in this position. This card does not only speak to the external reconnection between two people, it also speaks to an internal reunion within the viewer, a coming back to yourself, to the steadier, more certain version of yourself, to the part of you that knew what this was before you started questioning it, to the instinct you carried before the uncertainty taught you to doubt it. The Three of Cups is saying that the clarity about who you are in this connection and what this connection genuinely is returning too. But back to you as well, the part of you that was right about this person, the part of you that has been right the whole time. This part is about what this person has never actually said, not the version they have filtered and managed, not what they have implied, not what you have sensed between the lines, not the feelings you have read in their silences, what they carry in the part of themselves they have never shown you. Let's pull first card, the Lovers. And the Lovers arriving in this position is one of the most significant cards this reading could offer. Because the Lovers is not simply a romantic card, the Lovers is specifically the card of a choice, of a person who has arrived at a crossroads where two paths diverged and had to make a fundamental decision about which one they were willing to walk. And I feel like that is exactly where this person has been. They have been at that crossroads. Hold between the path that was easier, more familiar, more protected from the full risk of genuine feeling, and the path that leads toward you. And the Lovers is the card that says the choice has been made, not wavering, not still in the middle, not weighing the options. The choice has been made. And I want you to understand what this card is confessing on their behalf. Because the specific confession inside the Lovers is this: they chose wrong before. Consciously or not, they made the wrong choice. Not because they did not feel what they felt, but because the weight of it frightened them significantly into choosing what felt safer. And they know it. They have known it. And the confession that is coming, the one this card is carrying, is the admission that what they walked away from was not something they ever actually wanted to walk away from. It was something they tried to convince themselves they could live without. And they have discovered over time that they genuinely cannot. They have been genuinely trying, and they cannot. Second card, Queen of Cups. And the Queen of Cups in this position is one of the most specific and intimate cards I could pull for what this person experiences when they think about you. Because the Queen of Cups is the card of someone who holds feeling like water, of someone who experiences emotion as something that fills them, moves through them, that they are immersed in rather than observing from outside. And I feel like that is how this person experiences what they feel when they think of you, not as a thought they have, not as an emotion they manage from a safe remove, as something they are inside of, a feeling they cannot stand outside of or analyze from a safe distance. And I want to name something very specific about this card in this position. The Queen of Cups carries a very specific quality of being deeply and truly known, of someone who sees into you without needing to be told what is there. And I feel like that is what this person feels when they are with you. Seen, not performing, not managing how they come across, not filtering what they show, simply and completely seen. And I feel like that very specific quality is part of what they have not been able to find anywhere else. The specific experience of being fully visible to another person without it feeling threatening or dangerous. And they have not said that to you, not once. They have felt it more than they have felt most things, but they have not said it. And part of what is genuinely coming back in this person is the courage to actually say it, to name what you are to them in language they have been far too guarded to use before. And the naming itself is part of the fight. Last card, Ten of Cups. And the Ten of Cups is the card I most wanted to see in this final position, because the Ten of Cups is the vision card. It is the card of what a person sees when they let themselves imagine the full version of what they want, when they stop editing the dream and allow it to show itself completely. And I feel like this card is showing me what this person sees when they let themselves imagine a life that includes you, not the edited, practical, managed version. The real one, the one they have been imagining in the private hours, the ones late at night or early in the morning before the rational mind comes back online. And what they see is not small. It is not a modest or carefully limited version of what they want. They see something lasting, not a brief reunion or a temporary closeness, but a real and sustained chapter of their life where you are genuinely, durably present. And that vision is what drove the awakening, because at some point they let themselves see it fully. And then they tried to close the window on it, and they could not. Because a person who has allowed themselves to see what they actually want in full cannot successfully unfeel it. It does not go back in. It only grows louder. And I feel like that is where the fight is coming from, not from obligation, not from nostalgia, from a vision they cannot unsee that they now believe they are capable of going after. We are in the final part of this reading, and I want to close it the way this message deserves to be closed, not with summaries or recaps, but with what the cards are showing me about where you are going from here. First card, Two of Cups. And the Two of Cups coming out in this position is one of the most specific and direct closing cards I could see. Because the Two of Cups is the card of two people meeting each other as equals, of a recognition that moves in both directions at once, of that specific moment where two people are standing in front of each other and both of them know at exactly the same time what they are looking at. And I feel like this card is showing me a very near-term moment between you and this person, a moment of mutual recognition, where what has been unspoken finally gets spoken, where what has been unnamed finally gets named. And I feel like you are both going to feel it at the same time. The release, the landing, the moment of finally. The Two of Cups is also a card of equal offering, of both people putting something genuinely real on the table simultaneously. And I feel like part of what makes this reconnection different is that the exchange is going to be more balanced than it has been before. In the past, there was an imbalance in how much each of you was willing to show, how much was being offered on one side versus what was being offered or withheld on the other. And this card is saying that imbalance is resolving, that this person is bringing something to the exchange that they have never brought before. Their full hand, not a partial offering, not a carefully managed version of what they feel. The actual and complete thing. Second card, Ace of Swords, and the Ace of Swords in this position is the card of something being finally, and clearly said, the Ace of Swords is the card of truth cutting through. Of the thing that needed to be spoken, being spoken without hedging, without softening, without the protective vagueness that keeps two people from actually landing anywhere. And I feel like what this card is pointing to is a conversation, a specific conversation, one that is coming for the two of you in the near term that is going to be different from the conversations you have had before. Because in this one, something true is going to be said. Something that has been sitting in the space between you for a long time, unnamed and unacknowledged. And when it is said, it is going to shift things. Not gently, decisively. The Ace of Swords is not a card of ambiguity. It is the card of clarity arriving at full force. Of the moment where the fog that has been sitting between two people is cut away by something direct and honest and impossible to misread. And I feel like that moment is coming for you. And I want to say something about the Ace of Swords that matters for where you are in this. This card is not only about what this person is going to say. It is also asking something of you to meet that directness with your own. To let yourself be known in this conversation in the same way they are going to let themselves be known, to not soften what you actually feel or retreat behind protective distance, when what is being offered to you is the full truth of what they carry. The Ace of Swords rewards reciprocity, and the more clearly you can show up in this conversation, the more clearly the path forward between you becomes visible. Last card, Six of Cups, and the Six of Cups closing this reading is the card that holds everything together, because the Six of Cups is the card of coming home, of warmth that is not manufactured, of something familiar becoming available again after a period where it was not. And I feel like this card is speaking to the quality of what returns between the two of you, not just the relationship, but a specific feeling that existed between you at the beginning, before anything got complicated, before the distance and the uncertainty and the silence. A warmth that was always real, that never required effort to produce, that simply existed in the space between you whenever you were together. And the Six of Cups is saying that warmth did not disappear. It was not lost or spent or canceled by what happened. It was waiting, and I feel like you are going to feel it again in the early stages of what comes back, in the first real conversation, in the moment when this person shows up and something in you recognizes what is standing in front of you before you have time to think about it. And I want to close this reading with something direct. You have been patient through something that required real patience. You have held yourself together through something that most people would not have stayed upright through. And the reading is saying that what you held on for is coming, not as a reward for patience, but as the natural outcome of what this connection genuinely is. Something real always finds its way back. It takes different amounts of time for different things, not with summaries or recaps, but with what the cards are showing me about where you are going from here. First card, Two of Cups. And the Two of Cups coming out in this position is one of the most specific and direct closing cards I could see. Because the Two of Cups is the card of two people meeting each other as equals, of a recognition that moves in both directions at once, of that specific moment where two people are standing in front of each other and both of them know at exactly the same time what they are looking at. And I feel like this card is showing me a very near-term moment between you and this person, a moment of mutual recognition, where what has been unspoken finally gets spoken, where what has been unnamed finally gets named. And I feel like you are both going to feel it at the same time. The release, the landing, the moment of finally. The Two of Cups is also a card of equal offering, of both people putting something genuinely real on the table simultaneously. And I feel like part of what makes this reconnection different is that the exchange is going to be more balanced than it has been before. In the past, there was an imbalance in how much each of you was willing to show, how much was being offered on one side versus what was being offered or withheld on the other. And this card is saying that imbalance is resolving, that this person is bringing something to the exchange that they have never brought before. Their full hand, not a partial offering, not a carefully managed version of what they feel. The actual and complete thing. Second card, Ace of Swords, and the Ace of Swords in this position is the card of something being finally, and clearly said, the Ace of Swords is the card of truth cutting through, of the thing that needed to be spoken, being spoken without hedging, without softening, without the protective vagueness that keeps two people from actually landing anywhere. And I feel like what this card is pointing to is a conversation, a specific conversation, one that is coming for the two of you in the near term that is going to be different from the conversations you have had before. Because in this one, something true is going to be said. Something that has been sitting in the space between you for a long time, unnamed and unacknowledged. And when it is said, it is going to shift things. Not gently, decisively. The Ace of Swords is not a card of ambiguity. It is the card of clarity arriving at full force. Of the moment where the fog that has been sitting between two people is cut away by something direct and honest and impossible to misread. And I feel like that moment is coming for you. And I want to say something about the Ace of Swords that matters for where you are in this. This card is not only about what this person is going to say. It is also asking something of you to meet that directness with your own. To let yourself be known in this conversation in the same way they are going to let themselves be known, to not soften what you actually feel or retreat behind protective distance, when what is being offered to you is the full truth of what they carry. The Ace of Swords rewards reciprocity, and the more clearly you can show up in this conversation, the more clearly the path forward between you becomes visible. Last card, Six of Cups. And the Six of Cups closing this reading is the card that holds everything together, because the Six of Cups is the card of coming home, of warmth that is not manufactured, of something familiar becoming available again after a period where it was not. And I feel like this card is speaking to the quality of what returns between the two of you, not just the relationship.